The Mariners battled their absolute hearts out for a statement win to take 2 of 3 from the Rangers this afternoon, and we'll tell you all about it coming up here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Thursday, April 25th, 2024. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners postgame show, brought to you by Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. Join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Thank you so much for making us your first listen after the game. Subscribe, like, and turn on alerts if you're watching on YouTube, or subscribe and leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform if you like what you hear. And if you're part of the crew and rock with us every single day, let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to hear from us even more, please consider signing up for our Patreon. You can now get a free 7-day trial to check out the show. The link, as well as our social accounts, is in the description of this episode. Mariners win a ball game and win a series down in Arlington this afternoon, 4-3 the final score. Pretty awesome game, back and forth action, both of these teams trading blows, but the Mariners come out of it victorious and in first place of the AL West. And Colby, I feel like we could just copy and paste what you said about Logan Gilbert last night and apply that to Luis Castillo this afternoon. What did you think about Castillo?
Yeah, it was pretty similar to Logan, where Luis didn't have his best stuff tonight, and more specifically, command and control was a bit of an issue. He had some bad misses early. He had some near misses. It just never seemed like he could really dial in that arm side corner with any consistency. He actually got a little bit of help at times from the home plate umpire in this game. So it was just kind of all over the place early on. He really did take him 3 or 4 innings to settle in, and he was having to pitch through some big situations early in this game where, the game and starts earlier this year would have gotten away from him, where, a couple guys gets on and then he makes the one mistake pitch and boom, it's a 3-run homer. And all of a sudden the game changes. He really buckled down. He refused to give in those spots. And he really, if he was going to miss, he was going to miss off the plate for the most part. Stuff wise, he was actually okay today. 97, topped out at 97, averaged 95.9. It's up almost a full mile an hour over where he had been. And he actually got plenty of whiffs, particularly on 2 pitches. And it was really a 2-pitch day for Castillo. It was a 4-seam fastball and the slider today. Through those 2 pitches 80% of the time. And he just kind of alternated. It was fastball up, slider away. And it was pretty effective. He threw 48 4-seamers, 25 swings, 8 whiffs, 32%. That's a good number on a 4-seamer. 10 called strikes. So 38% called strike plus whiff on the 4-seamer. That's pretty good. Slider, even better. 34 sliders, 13 swings, 7 whiffs, and actually got 7 called strikes on that slider as well. So he was able to spot the slider for strikes when he needed to. It's a 41% called strike plus whiff rate. And those 2 pitches really carried the day. They were the only pitches in which he generated a whiff. And they were, again, he threw it 80% of the time. So that makes sense. He did get, hit hard on occasion, a little bit more than on occasion. He gave up quite a few hard hit balls, but
Rangers had 4 of the top 5 hardest hit balls in this game.
Right. And he gave up 8 hard hit balls in 6 innings. And that's kind of what happens when you don't have your really good control and command. Now, Castillo's never been like an elite control command guy. Like if you gave George Kirby Castillo's stuff, he might throw a no-hitter every time out. Like
right.
It's insane, the stuff that Castillo has, but he's never had that. But even today, it was about, half a grade or a full grade below what he would normally have when he would pitch. If Luis Castillo gives you 6 innings of 2-run ball, typically you're probably assuming he had at least average command and control. And today he really didn't. He was kind of trying to fight through it, particularly early. He kind of found it late, but early on it was 40 grade command and control for the most part. And there were some situations where he really needed to make a big pitch. And there were also situations where his defense needed to kind of bail him out. And thankfully they were able to do that. And he was able to do that and throw those big pitches. And they were able to turn the double play and make the over the shoulder catch with a guy on 3rd and 1 out. Like,
yeah.
They made the plays they needed to, and then Castillo really settled in after the 3rd inning. Just the 2 solo home runs today, and that really speaks to, the mentality of what a number one, like your staff ace has to have that kind of bulldog mentality where it's like, look, I don't have my best stuff. I'm going up against a formidable opponent. I have to figure out a way to give my team a chance to win the ball game. And like Logan Gilbert did 2 nights ago, Luis Castillo did that this afternoon. My hat's off to him because, again, giving up 8 runs in a 3-game series in Texas against this lineup, that's pretty significant, especially when you consider that none of your 3 starters had their best, combination of control, command, and stuff. Like none of them were pinpoint. None of them were, what we've seen them be this year at times. None of them were that good. But the fact that you won 2 out of 3, you only gave up 8 runs in 3 games in Texas against that lineup, pretty impressive stuff. So hats off to Logan and to Luis. They both really battled and showed why they're top of the rotation type of arms, because even when they don't have everything working for them, they find a way to manage and work through these really good lineups. And they got fairly deep into these games despite having elevated pitch counts early on. So it's a really good job by those 2 guys, and just kind of, again, further proof of, concept with the Mariners rotation that this is a very good rotation 1 through 4. And, there's not a lot of breaks in it. So Luis Castillo, again, kind of his 3rd good outing in a row after kind of 3 rough ones to start the year. So that's great. It's what you needed. And the Mariners needed Luis today to kind of step up and be that bulldog at times. And he certainly was.
Yeah. Command control started to improve in the 5th and 6th innings. He certainly saved his 2 best innings for last. And I felt like the turning point in this start for Castillo was that second at bat against Dolis Garcia. He's in a little bit of trouble, and he decides, you know what, I'm just going to challenge him with a fastball, and he wins that challenge both times, and then induces that inning double play, and from that point forward, started to settle in more, and gave the Mariners 6 big innings to help pave the way for this Mariners bullpen, which was pretty good today, especially Gabe Spire, who a couple nights ago, Taylor Saucedo said we need to start giving Gabe Spire his flowers. And you even wrote an article about Gabe later that night. And Gabe heading into this game, 96th percentile in chase percentage, 97th percentile in whiff rate, and 98th percentile in K percentage. And this afternoon, Spire gets 4 big outs for the Mariners. Talk a little bit about Spire, Colby. What did you think about him today?
Yeah, it was an interesting look from Gabe because unlike what he had done previously this season, the strikeout was not a big part of his afternoon. He had the one. It was a crucial one against Corey Seager with the tying run on 3rd. The one he needed, he got. But it was also his only whiff on the day. Only 1 swing and miss in the entire afternoon for Spire, which, based on his, his numbers entering this game, that's a bit of a surprise. So Texas was able to put him in play. They just weren't able to, put anything with authority into play. 0 hard hit balls. I think the hardest hit ball in the day was 90 miles an hour, and I think that was the pop-up. So just nothing really doing. Again, only the 1 strikeout, but 4 outs, 23 pitches, really attacked guys, went after him, wasn't afraid. And Gabe Spire is becoming, arguably one of the best relievers in the American League. No qualifier there, but he's certainly becoming one of the best left-handed relievers in the American League, and he is clearly
certainly been better than Josh Hader.
The Astros are 7-19, so he.
Mm-hmm.
But is that what they are? 7-19.
They are.
They got
swept.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick on that, I'm still not ready to say they're dead. I'm not burying them. But what I will say about that is, hey, at least you're putting ground in between you and the Astros right now. I think you're 6 games up on them at the moment.
Yeah, it's a long season. Like I said, I'm not burying anybody who we know isn't bad until at least the first week of June. You could bury the White Sox. They're done. But
they're cooked.
Yeah,
they're so
Marlins
bad.
are cooked. Like, we get it. There are teams that we know. Yeah, they suck.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you can bury those teams. But anyway, so yeah, Spire is kind of a different afternoon for him. Didn't have the huge whiff numbers, didn't have the big Ks, but he just threw the ball very well, got 4 big outs. And it becomes very clear. Not only is he one of the best left-handed relievers in baseball, not only is he one of the best relievers in the American League, but he is becoming the guy that Scott Service trusts the most out of that bullpen. He once again gets the highest leverage spot in the entire game. This is 3 or 4 outings in a row now where the highest leverage opportunity has gone to Gabe Spire. So, I mean, and rightfully so. He's more than earned it. He's been great against lefties and righties. And, you know, his stuff is at times it's ungodly. So, yeah, Gabe has been excellent. He's been a huge, you know, he's basically been Matt Brash without Matt Brash being here. So
Right.
he's really stepped in and filled that role, and he's starting to get trusted with more and more and more high leverage spots. And it'll be interesting to see how they handle that, you know, if they get Brash back anytime soon, because they certainly trust Gabe right now to get the job done.
Yeah, the strikeout against Seager was massive. That got a nice pop out of me here watching the game. And then the weak pop out against Garcia, and then getting Josh Smith out after giving up the hit to Wenzel, which made sure that Simeon wasn't guaranteed a plate appearance in the 9th inning. That was huge as well. Gabe Spire is sick right now, straight up. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this offense. Couple of 2-run home runs. It was basically like... what day is it today? It's Thursday, right? So Tuesday night's game. It was basically like Tuesday night's game. They got the two-run home runs, and that was enough for them today. So talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you by Policygenius and Monopoly Go. Choosing the right life insurance policy is a very important and overwhelming decision, and you want to be able to feel fully confident making that decision. Now you can with Policygenius, which is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options even offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Plus, your life insurance policy through your work may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team, and there are thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs through Policygenius. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. I'm a very competitive person, and my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times, but if not, it's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties just like classic Monopoly, but now I can also rob their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in time tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Thank you again for making us your first listen after the Mariners 4-3 win over the Texas Rangers. The Mariners are back at it tomorrow, beginning a 3-game set against Corbin Carroll, Gino Suarez, and the Diamondbacks. You can catch all the action on the Mariners' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you have to do is search Mariners. It's Colby. Common Luis Urías W.
It's a real shame that he was really bad with like half of a hamstring last year and that his career is over at the age of 26.
Right.
It really is a bummer that happens to guys like Urías.
What a shame.
Despite having 2 very solid years prior to that, at again 24, 25 years old, the fact that he got hurt last year and was bad in 55 games tells us everything we need to know about that player. Dude can't play very clearly. So, you know, the Mariners should probably go down and get Brian Anderson because he's had just as much success as Luis Urías in his career.
Totally.
I mean, granted, it was 4 years ago, but still.
Right.
Yeah, these are all things that I heard. Okay, These aren't things I'm making up. These are things that I literally heard all winter. And
and some of you listening, you said it.
Yeah, you know who you are.
You watching right now, you said that. You said those things. Yeah. Yes. We remember.
And by the way, Ty, who was it who planted a flag on the third base platoon on this podcast. Oh, wait, it was both of us. That's right.
Yep.
Rojas, Urías.
Urías. Yep.
You're welcome. So yeah, Urías again just finds a way to contribute. Also made another, couple nice plays on some hard hit balls his way.
Yep.
The Mariners' third base defense has been excellent this year. So I know the metrics say that like Rojas is like -1 outs above average. That's BS. He's been really good over there. So is Urías.
More than fine over there.
Yes.
Yeah. Urías had a couple of really nice plays today. And look, he hasn't had a ton of hits this year, but he has 2 pretty big home runs for this team. He had the game-winning home run today, and then helped you pad that lead down in Milwaukee, which you kind of needed to close that one out. So Urías hasn't played a ton. He hasn't had a ton of hits, like I said, but he's made a legitimate impact.
Right, and we might he might factor into the shortstop conversation we're going to have here in a minute as well. So obviously we have to see if he's healthy. First of all, I mean, let's start here. Like, how happy are we that he was able to play today? Because a couple of days ago we thought maybe he fractured his wrist, and Dylan Moore was going to have to slide over and play that role. Well, now you need Dylan Moore to play another role, and so the fact that Urías is healthy enough to play is huge. So, first of all, that worked out fantastic. So good for the Mariners. They needed it. But he was good again today. Had the home run, had another hard hit ball. Did strike out once, but that's kind of par for the course for the Mariners, regardless of how they try to change.
Let's talk about Ty France. This was the second game in the series that the Mariners got out to a 2-0 lead in the first inning, thanks to a 2-run home run. This one courtesy of Ty France, who has been hitting the absolute hell out of the ball this year. 91st percentile in hard hit rate, 97th percentile in sweet spot percentage. He just hasn't elevated the ball, but he finally elevated this one. It was kind of a weird looking home run. It looked like a ball that off the bat, before they switched camera angles, I thought was just going to go foul. But that ball never really sliced, and it just went over the right field wall for a 2-run shot. So are you encouraged by the hard hit numbers with France? I know the overall numbers, you look at his Fangraphs page, it's not good, right? I think he's running like a 90 something WRC plus or something like that at the moment.
103 after today.
103. But
266, 322, 354.
But we're seeing consistent hard contact out of him. And again, he just hasn't really been elevating. So are you encouraged by what you're seeing out of Ty France? Or are you just kind of meh on it? What are you feeling on Ty right now?
I'm pretty meh.
You good then?
Yeah, I'm good. Ooh. Almost had to buy a new cell phone. I'm good.
Oh, boy.
But I was looking it up. France right now is running a 21.8% K percentage. That would be his highest in 3 years. So he's also only slugging, 354. Like, that's not going to play at first base. So, I think Ty overall has been fine this year. I don't think he's been like a tremendous asset at the plate. Like, if you're telling me like tomorrow's the trade deadline and I can go get, Christian Walker or whoever, right, a first baseman, and move Ty France to the bench, would I do it? Based on what I've seen so far, yes, I would, because right now France being a league average bat at first base is not good enough. So he has to continue. I mean, it's encouraging that he's hitting the ball harder than he has, but at the end of the day, like, if Ty France isn't hitting 270, 280, if he's not getting on base 35, 36% of the time, if he's not, cracking 35 doubles and 15 home runs, he's just not that valuable of a player. So
do you think, though, with the increase in the hard hit rate, that maybe that slug will eventually come over the course of the season?
It might, but he's actually already running a 345 BABIP. So it's not like he's having terrible luck with his, hard hit balls. So I think that, I don't care how many home runs Ty France hits. Like, every one he hits to me is a bonus. But if you're going to hit 240 and you're going to have a 325, 330 on base as a first baseman, you kind of have to hit 25, 30 home runs to have value. And so my concern with Ty France has always been that, he's repeatedly said, I'm not trying to get back to 2021. I'm trying to get back. Like, I'm trying to be somebody I haven't been before.
Right.
And that's a little terrifying, because he wasn't very good in the second half of 2022. He wasn't good at all last year. And this year he's been, I think, mediocre is the correct word for him, at least results wise. He's been pretty mediocre. So I still do have some concerns about Ty France, but For the most part, I think he looks pretty good, and I do think that if he continues to hit the ball as hard as he is at the consistent rate that he is, eventually the extra base hits will come.
I think some of it is an elevation issue, though. He's running the second lowest launch angle of his career at the moment. He's averaging a 10.4 degree launch angle. And he's been historically, his career average right now is 12 degrees.
Anytime somebody decides they're going to sell out for power when it's not like a natural part of their profile,
right,
scares me a little bit, because we saw Jared Kelenic do this and basically completely change his entire profile in a year, and it hasn't worked. Right. We saw Mitch Haniger do this, and Mitch Haniger went from one of the best, players in baseball, one of the most underrated players in baseball, to just a good player, like not an all-star, not this special player. And so we've seen guys try and do this, and they try to produce the power they think will get them paid. And it comes at the expense of, there's nothing wrong with Ty France hitting 280, 290 with a 350 on base and, 18 home runs with 35 doubles. Like, that's the guy I want.
Sure.
And I don't care how hard he hits the ball. If he can't do that, then he's got to be more. He's got to hit more home runs. He's got to hit for more power. If he's not going to go 280, 350. So that's where I'm at with Ty France.
Yeah, so we'll see. I do think some of the underlying numbers here are pretty encouraging for France. And I think he's been a bit better than maybe just his stat sheet says right now. But we'll see if the slugging eventually comes. Because again, you need some sort of slugging production out of your first base spot, no matter who it is. No matter if Ty is hitting for a 280 average and getting on base at a 340, 350 clip, he's still got to slug some. You still need some power output from that position. All right, so we have an unfortunate update on JP Crawford. Of course, we got that before the game. JP Crawford heading to the IL. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. Spring training is over and baseball season is in full swing. Don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. You can also get in on the basketball playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a whole new level during the postseason. On Friday, download PrizePicks today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Thank you again for making us your first listen after the Mariners' big 4-3 win over the Texas Rangers. And no off day tomorrow. They are right back at it at T-Mobile Park against the Arizona Diamondbacks. You can catch all the action on the Mariners' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. All you have to do is search Mariners. So JP Crawford, unfortunately, landing on the injured list this morning with a grade 1 oblique strain, which is probably the best case scenario once we found out that it was an oblique that was bothering him last night. But this is still something that could keep him out for a month, maybe even more. As a result, Leo Rivas has been called up to the big league club. So, Colby, do you think that's the right move? Do you think Rivas will stick, or do you think they should eventually entertain calling up Ryan Bliss? Because I think that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I think so. One thing to keep in mind here is that neither Rivas or Bliss were on the 40-man today. So the idea that, he's on the 40-man, so it's easier that way.
Right.
No,
and real quick on that reminds me. So Gregory Santos was transferred to the 60-day IL to make room on the 40-man for Rivas. That shouldn't send up any red flags. That is retroactive to the start of the season, and Santos wasn't going to be ready anyway to make his Mariners debut by that 60-day mark. So that's nothing to be concerned about.
He still has to go through basically spring training.
Yeah.
So, Brash might be out on a rehab assignment this week or early next week. So, Santos still pretty much has to go through a spring training. So that's not really that big of a surprise. That's what they did. Rivas is an interesting guy. He's kind of a Jerry Dipoto guy. He apparently signed Rivas way back in his Anaheim days. So he's been around for quite. I think this is his 9th year as a pro. So, first of all, congrats to him on getting the call.
That's awesome.
Yep. I mean, that's a lot of perseverance. And good for him. I'm happy for him. I would assume Dylan Moore is going to get most, if not all, of the playing time at shortstop going forward. But the Mariners do have a couple options here. Luis Urías has plenty of experience playing shortstop. In fact, it was his primary position pretty much up until last year. Rojas, that was his natural position before he moved off the spot in the high minors, so he can actually play short as well. So, and also Polanco played a lot of short, although you probably don't want to do that, but it's there for you, right? It's an option.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
I'm a little bit surprised the Mariners even called up an infielder. Particularly a shortstop only type of guy, which is what Rivas is. He's not a hitter, right? He's not a big bat, and if he's not playing up the middle, he's not really helping you. So I'm a little bit surprised they even called up an infielder like that. I would have thought Sam Haggerty would have been the guy.
Same.
But yeah, if it was between Rivas and Bliss, I think I would have gone with Bliss, but the Mariners, they may not be ready to quite push that. Bliss is still swinging and missing. There's still some issues there.
Yeah, he's only hitting 226, 99 WRC plus down in AAA.
Right. He's not putting up, spectacular numbers. He's doing some good things. And I think if this was kind of a long-term thing, if the Mariners thought this was going to be months, not weeks, then they probably would take the shot on Bliss because, you ride the upside, right? And Bliss certainly has power. He certainly can run the bases very well. He's at least as good as Rivas is defensively, based on what I know about Rivas, which is not a lot. Basically, I think this is a sign that, like, hey, we just need a guy who can play short, once a week, and then, like, if we need to make a move.
If this was last year, it might have been Mason McCoy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the idea here. So it's certainly not Cole Young. I know some of you out there are thinking of it. Stop. Okay, just stop. But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if this wasn't even like he's not up for the duration of JP's injury. They could send him down and call up, Haggerty or Marlowe or somebody like that. So I don't know if I don't even know if he's going to be here tomorrow, but he did travel all the way from Tacoma down to Texas, and now he's traveling back. So I would assume that he's going to be here for at least the short term, and he'll I mean, they're not going to not give him at bats. They're going to give him a couple at bats. But Dylan Moore is going to handle the shortstop duties for the most part over the next, hopefully 2 or 3 weeks, but maybe 6 weeks.
All right, so that is going to do it for our show. Before we get out of here, a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Dan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Dan Gonzalez, Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Thank you again for making us your first listen after the game. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.